Alright, getting a late start on a mulching job. This will be a couple days in here. It's not a whole ton going on. It's pretty thinned out, but basically we're gonna start up, well, not start, but we're gonna go from about where that little shed is there, those trees. We're gonna go down in the woods here, back about I'd say about 100 foot, 70 to 100 foot back there. Got it all mapped out up here, and the property line goes from like where those woods are down through here, and all he wants is it thinned out. It's just a little nasty in here. Looks like this poplar tree got damaged probably whenever they were clearing this lot. They probably pushed a tree down on it and royally damaged it. Either that or that's a lightning strike. I don't know. Usually lightning strikes don't stop like that. I think that's from probably whenever they had somebody out here clearing this lot, probably pushed a tree over here and damaged that. But that thing is that's gonna have to come down. I'm not doing it, at least not right now, but it's not part of the job anyways. But yeah, there's some wet area down in there. The back of this lot is kind of a flood zone. There's a creek that runs through it. I'm hoping it's not too wet. We had a bunch of ice and everything thaw, so this area that I'm walking in is all straw. I'm sure it's seeded. It's clay under here, so hopefully you can get something to grow, I guess. But the ground was frozen for a long time, and now it's just finally thawed out, but it hasn't had time to dry out. So the rest of everything's all dry, but there's some areas that are still pretty wet, like where I'm standing is still fairly wet. But we'll get in here and get rolling. I have Thomas with me today. He's out on a stump grinding job, so hopefully this video is good here. I've got it set up in the cab. Not gonna be doing tripod because I'm gonna be moving around too much. I can't keep getting in and out of the machine, moving the tripod with me. So we will get started. I think I'm gonna work on cutting the perimeter out, and then so we know exactly where we're working. But liking this machine so far. We only have like 80 hours on it. It's not a whole lot of debris in there. This little deal here holds it, but part of that is because, I have a Blackhawk, and this Pecan Blackhawk mulcher, it has a 76-inch drum, which is very wide. If you see, it actually covers the whole track. A lot of mulchers, the entire width of the head is 76 inches, like overall. This thing's like 90 and 76-inch drum. So what does that mean? That means that whenever I'm back dragging or running over, since this comes out on most mulchers, it would be like right here. So it's, you know, hitting the arm there where you can see the chains there. It just shoots stuff up onto the tracks and into here. But it's a great head. I love that head. That's the third mulching head I've had, and by far the best. For clearing trails and brush and stuff, it's great. I don't run over stumps as much as people with narrower heads do, but it makes a good product too. What's with me only back dragging like one time? But it's coming along. Only went through for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I think it was probably about an hour and a half. We still got to get back in there. The thickest part of it is pretty much done. Gonna do some hand work there because there's a lot of dips and stuff. We'll get that all thinned out. The property line, I kind of already gone to the property line there. It shoots back that way. Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna get out my app, my surveying app, and I'm gonna go through and walk off with some ribbons where we're going to, because I have like one bar here, and being in the machine and doing it is just not working out well. That was a black walnut. But yeah, I've just kind of been running around, just plowing through the easy areas, getting stuff opened up. Kind of gives you a better visual on, because I'm kind of open to make my own decisions on this job. Ultimately, it's up to the customer, but he was like, use your best judgment, just make it look nice. Thin it out. So that's what we're doing. It's hard to tell what's what because there's vines and all this little scraggly stuff. There's not really any need to take down a tree that's a small diameter if it looks good. You know, like those trees right there, those are only like 3 inches, but you know, if they're out in the open, thinned out, they'll turn into big trees down the road. And the point is to make this look like a usable natural forest. So if we just take out every tree except for the big trees, it's not really going to look like that. It's just going to be a little too thin. But there's a fine line between doing too much and not doing enough. If you don't do enough, it looks like you didn't do anything at all. And if you do too much, then it doesn't really look natural whenever you want it to look natural. But a lot of dead wood in here. Dead tree right there, that leaning thing. There's a lot of that happens in flood zones. These trees are kind of just always sitting in water, rotting. They don't last forever. I'm surprised that the pine trees are in here, because pine trees don't usually grow in these low wet areas, but I guess it's not low and wet enough. But we'll be back out tomorrow. I'll have Thomas here to do some handwork and pole saw and swing like Tarzan from these vines and pull them out of these trees and make it look real nice. That's also another thing that makes a big difference in this work, is the handwork. Getting a pole saw out and cutting little scraggly trees that are at the base of a tree that I don't want to hit with the mulcher. I can get really close to a tree, really close with the mulcher, and be very careful with it. And that takes some time to know how to do, because you see, like there was a one right there, and if I go too far and just buzz that tree, that's compromise that tree, and that's not what he wanted. So then at that point, I'm obligated to remove this tree for him for free. So it's gotta just be real careful with what I'm doing. But you know, doing all the handwork. Thomas will be in here with a pole saw like a madman, cutting all this stuff up, and lemon branches and just real little stuff, but it'll look nice when we done. We'll be out in the morning.